Public speaking is pretty tough for most people, wouldn't you agree? Now let's add another level of complexity. What if English isn't your first language? What if you have an accent like me? I came to the United States more than 2 decades ago with okay English, and while my English has improved, my accent has remained pretty much the same. Now, don't take me wrong, I like my accent, but it definitely makes me harder to understand, right? So how do you become a better public speaker when English isn't your native tongue? Stay tuned to find out. I'm Victoria Lioznyansky, and I help introverted entrepreneurs overcome their fear of public speaking and transform into confident, compelling, and captivating speakers. Tip number 1, speak slowly. This is the biggest advice I can give you. It's very hard for me as well. In my native tongue, I'm a very, very fast speaker, and I had to actually slow myself down quite a bit when I came to the United States, because I realized there is just no way anybody can understand me when I'm speaking very fast, swallowing half of the words and not pronouncing other words correctly. So when you slow down, you work on your pronunciation, you work on your accent, and your audience understands you a lot better. But having said that, please keep in mind that your accent is not that big of a deal if you're speaking slowly. It usually takes your audience maybe about a minute, 2 minutes to get used to an accent, particularly if it's an accent that they're not really very familiar with. But audiences get used to the accent very, very fast. And then, as long as you speak slowly, they're able to catch up with you and to understand you. Tip number 2, don't use words you cannot pronounce. This is like, duh, that's a good tip even if you don't have an accent. But depending on which country you came from, there are certain sounds that are very hard to pronounce. For example, for anybody from Eastern Europe, the difference between E and I is practically non-existent. I hear it, I have a lot of difficulty reproducing it, which means I try to avoid words that can sound completely wrong if mispronounced. For example, I would never say S-H-E-E-T, just because I know I'm gonna completely butcher it in a critical situation. So I replace it with a synonym like a document or a piece of paper. So if you know that you have trouble with certain sounds, obviously you need to work on them, and you may want to ask your friends to listen to you, you may want to record yourself and listen to yourself. But if you know you have trouble with certain sounds, just make it easy for you. Just replace those words with a different word, with a synonym that you know you say a lot better. Tip number 3, don't use words if you're not 100% sure about their meaning or whether they can be used in a certain context. Again, this is such a common mistake that a lot of non-native English speakers make. We do want to use words that we know, but if you are not 100% sure what it means, just don't say it. If you are not 100% sure, then maybe you should research it before you use it. You know, just open the dictionary and look it up, and then you will be sure. But if you're not 100% sure, or if you're not sure that that word can be used in a specific context, replace it with a synonym. It may be a simpler word and you really want to appear, a lot more educated and use bigger words, but honestly, you're better off using a simpler word correctly than something that's very long and fancy, but used incorrectly. Tip number 4. Use correct intonation. Intonation is basically a pattern of the pitch going up and down, and every language has its own melody, and that's what makes it so wonderful to listen to. And you can actually recognize people from countries not just based on their accent, but based on how they create that melody in their sentence. And this is incredibly hard because when it's your native tongue, you don't really think about it. It comes natural to you to intonate correctly. And when it's not your native language, there is this complexity of using the right words and the right grammatical structure. Now on top of it, you also have the melody of the pitch to think about. And I definitely struggle with it. This is incredibly hard, or at least I find it incredibly hard. And my biggest advice to you on how to improve your intonation in general is to listen to audiobooks. You can also watch movies, but I find movies visually distracting. And of course, you can also watch movies with your eyes closed, but I prefer listening to audiobooks. And if you listen for a long period of time, if you listen to the same book for an hour, you actually start picking up certain characters' intonation, that melodic pitch. And try stopping maybe after every sentence, after every couple of sentences, and repeating the sentence with the same intonation. It's hard, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it, so give it a try. Tip number 5, practice. This is a good tip for everyone, right? Not necessarily for non-native English speakers. You do need to practice. You need to practice to be in front of a live audience. You need to practice to be in front of a camera. And when you practice, I want you to pay special attention on how you are finding synonyms when you speak. Because the hardest thing for non-native English speakers is when we speak, we cannot come up with the right word sometimes, right? And that's what causes, you do not want that to happen. So if you cannot quickly find a word in your head that you are planning to use, you do not make any sound. You just pause and very, very quickly look for a synonym. And this is a skill. It's not a special talent. It's really just a skill and comes with practice. So practice in front of a video camera. Record yourself. Practice in front of a friend, practice in front of a mirror, but practice speaking. And anytime you cannot think of a right word in your head, practice looking for a synonym very, very quickly. Let's go over the 5 tips again. Tip number 1, speak slowly. Tip number 2, don't use words you cannot pronounce. Tip number 3, don't use words if you're not 100% sure about their meaning or whether they can be used in a certain context. Tip number 4, use correct intonation. Tip number 5, practice. Please let me know in the comments below which tip is your favorite. And also keep in mind, I have a free training on overcoming fear of public speaking. And you can get it at www.brilliantspeakersformula.com. I cannot wait to connect with you again, and I'll see you soon. Take care.